Okay, I was on mute. I'm glad I kept checking. Okay, everyone, welcome to Mortgage Coaches Training Thursday. This is Lori, and I am going to work with you today on creating a presentation for a refinance. So with that, I want to ask a couple questions, and it will discuss our presentation. So first question, open up your GoToMeeting area and open up the questions section. Let me know if you do HELOCs. And first off, let me know if you can hear me and see my screen. So if you could do that for me, I appreciate it. And also let me know where you're from. So a couple questions I want you in the question area. Just do you do HELOCs? I do have a second lien here. Hey, Vicki, Omaha, Nebraska. Okay, are your HELOCs adjustable? No HELOCs? Okay, perfect. We also have a conventional fixed product we're going to work with. I also have a couple ARM products. So if you do ARM products, let me know. Maybe at the end of the call we'll review that and show you how those ARM products work. So, okay, we'll just dive into the product. If you can, go ahead and put in the GoToMeeting area, open up your question area. As we go through the presentation today and the training, let me know any questions you may have. What are your struggles in Mortgage Coach? Let me know in the question area, and that way I can also address those while we're doing this training and make it easier and quick for you to get through creating a presentation. So now with what we're viewing is the current mortgage. So with the current mortgage, what they had done is they paid 10% down, and then they took out a 10% second lien, which is a HELOC. Interest only for 10 years. And you can see they're a little bit into it. They have 26.9 years. So they're just a little under 3 years into the loan. And they also have that second lien that they also have. So with that, what we're going to do is show you how you can take that current mortgage, take that full balance, and refinance it into a conventional fix. The second product we're going to compare is refinancing the first lien, but keeping that second lien, resubordinating that second lien. And with that, what I want to do is point out the monthly payment savings. And this more info button here gives you a lot of information on that second lien. So you can see how here they're keeping the first lien and then they're refinancing the first, but they kept that second lien here. Whereas in the first product, they went ahead and refinanced the whole first and second into one loan. So you have that information broken down really quickly in the monthly payment savings. I also want to point out in the more info area, you also have your P&I payment breakdown as well. Let's get rid of the highlights first. If you see that clear all button at the bottom center, that's a quick way of just clearing out all your highlights. So let's go into that more info button. And you see in the payment breakdown screen here, you'll have the P&I for your first and second lien. So you can see the amount here, the amount that it's been combined, and then you also have the first and second for the second product here. So now with that, what we could do is we're going to go into Mortgage Coach. We're going to work with the current mortgage and refinances. Those are the questions we get quite a bit when coming through support. A lot of times they might not the borrower might not know all their information, and I'll show you how you would be able to work the refinance and be able to work it backwards if they know the payment. So let's go ahead and dive into Edge. If you're going to go ahead and follow along, go ahead and log into your Mortgage Coach account. And I have my presentation already created, so I'm going to go ahead and open my presentation. Really quick, I want to point out, if I hover my mouse over products, you see I have 4 products here, but I'm only displaying 2. You can see how you could create additional products on your presentation, and you can pull them out afterwards in the sense of when you're talking to your borrower, you could provide them the 2 conventional products just fixed, but also know that they might be interested in an ARM product. And during your conversation, you can bring the ARM products out. So we'll be showing you how you could do that as well. So now when we create our presentation, I went ahead and just put my name in, and I always use the friendly reminder field because it's a great way when I'm doing copies or doing any kind of searches, great reference field. Moving on to my goal screen, I just left this empty. You could go ahead and identify the goals for the borrower. In this creating a presentation quickly, I just bypass the screen. Also, if you're doing a purchase, remember always mark purchase a new home, because when you do, that removes the current mortgage from your presentation. So always remember to mark this purchase when you're doing purchase loans. So now we're moving on to the assumption screen, and this is where we're going to capture the data for the refinance. So you can see with my assumptions, I left the current monthly mortgage payment empty. This is just a display field. So if the borrower gave you the payment, you could go ahead and place that in there so you would know the number that you're trying to achieve. So we also have what the current property value is. It's $350. The original appraisal amount, and you'll see it's 3 years ago, it was at $285. So you'll be able to have your original appraisal amount here, which controls the MI on your current mortgage. So if you have that, great way of putting that in there, a little bit more accuracy. Not needed, but just wanted to tell you what the difference between those two are. Current payoff total. What we're going to do is discuss this field in one moment. We're just going to leave it alone, and we're going to come back to you and discuss it in a little bit more detail. So now let's move on to the current mortgage screen. So this is the screen where a lot of people have some struggles only because the borrower doesn't know what the loan criteria is. They forgot. It's been a while, and so sometimes you might only have the payment. So what I have done here is I have the information, so I went ahead and put in the first payment date, what that original loan amount was, $285 with 10% down, the interest rate, and my term. With this data, we calculate the remaining balance. So a little over 3 years into the loan, this is how much they owe. Now moving on, you can see that with the payment, say that you have the payment amount, but when you put in the data, it's not matching. One question you need to ask, are they giving you an amount that's including your taxes and insurance? Because sometimes they'll just give you the amount that they pay, not realizing it encompasses all those payments. So that's one question to ask the borrower. And if not, and they know the payment, you can modify any of these items here, and it will adjust the payment. So say they do know the original loan amount and they know it's a 30-year term, not quite sure of the interest rate. So that's the field you can use to go ahead and modify that payment up and down. So let's say the payment was a little bit lower that they quoted you, so you went ahead and let's decrease it to 5%. You can see how the system automatically recalculates that payment as well as that remaining balance. So if you have a payment but not all the criteria, just go ahead and you can modify your interest rate or possibly the loan amount they have wrong. So just go ahead, and when you modify those, you could then go ahead and see below what that payment will be. Remember, this is straight P&I, no monthly taxes or insurance. So now let's go ahead and talk about the remaining balance. With the remaining balance, there's a couple different ways you could work it. With the remaining, you see this auto update balance. If you have this marked, what it will do is automatically update the remaining balance the next time you come into the file based on that first payment date. So with the auto update, it will automatically recalculate that ending balance based on your first payment date. The other item I want to point out with the remaining balance is going back that screen one. So with cash to close on a refinance, we'll use the remaining balance field here to calculate the cash to close. We also have a field over current total payoff amount. This field, if you put a dollar amount, this is what we will use for our cash to close. So remember, if when you're using this field, a lot of times people know that it's going to be a couple months before it closes, so they want to be able to provide a payoff total at that point of time. So then if that's the case, we'd use this figure for that cash to close. So if there's any questions on that, let me know. So this field and the remaining balance field will control the cash to close. So now that we captured our current mortgage details, we then key in your monthly costs. So I provided the estimates. If you know the straight dollar amount, you can always press the percent and put in that dollar amount. So either way, an estimate or a straight dollar will work. I don't have MI because they put 10% down and 10% with the HELOC. So now you'll see the very last question here. Do they have a second lien? So anytime you mark it yes, not only in the current mortgage but in your products, the very last field will ask for the second lien. And as soon as you mark it yes, as you advance, it will capture the data for that second lien. And it works very similar to the first, where you just go ahead and put in the first payment date, the loan amount, that's that 10% of the $285. Remaining balance, it's the same because you'll notice I have an interest-only term. It's an interest-only payment for 10 years, and then for a total 25-year term, and the remainder would be P&I for that 15 years. I'm keeping it as a fixed-rate product, but you can make it as an ARM. So for those of you who have joined late, if you're doing HELOCs, please open up your question area. Let me know, and what I could do is show you if you're doing adjustable type of HELOCs, the ones set to prime, because they do work a little differently, and we can walk through how you can set that up. So if that's the case, go ahead and place it in the question area, and we'll go ahead and address the HELOC if ARM products if you do that. So now once you have your second lien details within the system, you can then continue on. So with that, you can see the affordability. I could bypass it and go directly to my products. I'm just leaving that empty for now and just focusing on product. So now how you could do this is quite simple. So when you come to your first product, put in your title, and you'll notice that it is marked no. So with that, as soon as you mark it, let's go ahead and show it. See how it's purchase price? It is a refinance. So if we mark it yes for refi, it will then take that data, the closing balance of both the first and the second, total it, and place it in the base loan amount. So when you're coming in to create your refinance, mark it as a refi. You'll see the descriptions change in red on the left-hand side. And then for the base loan amount, we do take both the ending balance for the first and the second lien, total both those amounts, and place it here. When we come to the resubordinating of the second, we'll talk a little bit more about this field here. So then once you have it as marked as a refi, go ahead and place in your interest rate as well as your term. Yes, Candy, let me address that in just one moment, and she has a unique situation on a HELOC. So let me go ahead and just flow through these fixed products, and then we'll come back and talk about that second lien or that HELOC. Okay, so once you put in the information for your fixed product, and again, you could compare it to any. I just went ahead and chose just a conventional fix. You want to put in your fees. I quote 15 days of prepaid interest. You can see a lot of 5 days in there, whatever amount. Hover your mouse over that field and you can see the dollar amount. I also then went into my closing cost details and selected my fee template. And if you're on an enterprise account and you don't see any fee templates here, contact your administrator or just contact us at support and we'll be able to help set up the branch fee templates for your company. So once you pull down that fee template, you can go ahead and make any modifications or add any fees if you want to. So if there was anything different, you could go ahead and update that amount and it will go ahead, not change the fee template, but just will apply the fee changes to that particular loan. Anytime you create a new set of fees for a new product, best way, go ahead and save it as a template. So with that, you can save it as a template and just build your arsenal. Again, it will help you speed your way through creating a presentation. So I want to point out the blue area here, the blue bar. This is where you can find a lot of details that are on that previous screen. If you had points or any kind of rebate, you would see it displayed here. You can see that prepaid interest. If you had the upfront MIP or funding fee, you'll see that amount as well. So with that, it then totals the fees based on borrower, lender, or seller, depending on who you identified it being paid to. Once you're done, you just apply it to the loan, and we move on to our monthly costs. So I went ahead and put in that information, and I do not have MI, so I'm going to leave that empty. And on this particular case, you could see how, does this product include a second lien? I said no, because refinance the first and the second into one loan. So now let's talk about resubordinating the second. So with that, you can see I have my title, and it's way beyond 12 characters. So let's shorten this down a little bit. And the reason why you need to keep it to 12 characters is due to printing the presentation. If it's a long title, what happens is the presentations get pushed off the page. So if you see that, just take a look at your product titles and just shorten them to 12 characters. Next, let's go ahead, and I want to make a copy of this loan amount. And what I want to do, because I want to resubordinate the second. So if you recall, if you mark it as a yes, you have that base loan amount combining those figures. So what you would need to do is go ahead and put in that base loan amount. And what I have done is just go to my mortgage, took my base loan amount, because this is of how much is owed on that first mortgage. And if they have paid more principal down, you could go ahead and change that product as well to the accurate loan amount here. So I went ahead and placed that remaining balance. That's all that they're going to refinance out. Placed in that interest rate and the term. Moving to our fees, I did the same thing, added my prepaid interest as well as your closing costs. And then our monthly fees, or monthly costs. So just like on the current mortgage, there is a button. Does this product include a second lien? I marked it yes. And I also have my existing mortgage here. So it carried all that information over for me, and I have it listed here. So I don't have to do anything. It's using that first payment date, and we'll continue going forward with the freedom date based on that first payment. If you have any fees for that second, you could go ahead and place the fees. And then we come to our third product. Right now, let's just focus on the first two products that we had, and then we can come back to the ARMs. But before we move on, let's go back and talk about a HELOC. Candy is saying that she has a second that is now fixed. It was adjustable previously. Do you use only the fixed portion now? That's the quickest and easiest way, Candy, to do it is correct. Just go ahead and treat it as a fixed rate loan from this point forward, and then we could go ahead and collect that information. As an ARM type, if you really wanted to get accurate and really show those ARM details based on the past, what you could do is then change it to an ARM, go into ARM details, and instead of filling the information, just go ahead and put in your margin and the index percentage. And instead of best or worst, choose custom. And for those of you who are looking, watching this, the call is recorded and it is on our website. So you can always come back and see this portion of the HELOC. So now what you do is you have the custom ARM adjustments. And with that, it's showing interest rate at 6%. So what that means is it's taken my margin plus my index and provided me that fully index adjustment. So most likely. So with that, what you can then do, Candy, is in the past, if you knew the rate, you could go ahead and then indicate what it was. And then it will calculate based on that. And then you could just add different months. So say, you know, on the 36th month, the rate had adjusted and it went down. And you could do it this way. This is how you could play with the interest rates for a HELOC, because a HELOC is a very slow moving product in the rate. You know, the prime doesn't move that quickly, so the adjustments are very slowly. You wouldn't want to go to the full ceiling. A lot of them are 18%. That's a little harsh to show your borrower, but you could do these slight adjustments here in the rate just to be able to show the borrower the rates do change. And we have a great video tutorial that will just walk you through. It's about 6-7 minutes just on how to go ahead and create a equity line or a HELOC base with some adjustments. So with that, I'm not going to save. I'm just going to go ahead and cancel. And I'm going to keep it as a fixed rate. I hope that helped, Candy, but basically a quick, easy way of doing it, yes, treat it as a second lien. So now what we want to do is once we finish creating our two products, you're welcome, we then come to analysis screen. So in the analysis screen, this is where you could, when they're talking about the goals, you can modify the terms. One item I always like to do before I go into the presentation with the borrower is find your break-even point. So with that, that is why we have the short-term analysis in months. You could drop it all the way down, so you could take a look at month 12, and you can see even at this point, they're already positive. They broke even with refinancing their loan. So even at 6 months, you can see now that the current mortgage has more savings. So you could just keep inching up. This also, when we go to the presentation, you want to use the short-term analysis when you're talking to your borrower, because this is where you can control their goals or show them the presentation based on their goals. So say they're going to be moving in 36 months possibly. Well, then show them the option for 36 months and the short-term savings. They're still going to be saving if they refinance that loan. And then if they decide to stay in that house, they can continue seeing that savings. So you can see how it's been updated. You could do the same with the long term for their goals. As you're talking with the borrower, say they think they might be moving in 36 or 3 years or maybe 7 years. You can see the short term, or the short term will reflect the 36 months and the long term reflect the 7 years. So it's a nice gap of showing the different types of savings and costs for their loan. So let's go ahead and update the short term to reflect 60 months, and we'll place the long term back at 15. When we discuss ARM products and we come back to the ARM, that's another area where you want to or update short term, because you want to take into the account of the interest rate change. And with it being at 60 months, if you have a 7-1 ARM, that interest rate is basically fixed for that period of time. The borrower would never really see the rate adjustment. So the ARM loans are perfect. If the goal of the borrower is moving within 5 years, a 7-1 ARM is the way to go. And we'll show you, talk about this a little bit more in a moment. Moving on, we have our contact screen. You could go ahead and fill in the information of your contact there. And you can see this is the screen and presentation. So if you email us at support, a lot of times what we'll tell you is hover your mouse over presentation and choose select report. We have jump outs on a lot of these screens, and so the jump out we want to do is select report, and you can see it brings us to this screen here. If you want to see an amortization schedule, I'm noticing more and more people asking for that. You have the capability here of seeing the amortization schedule. you can have it on any of the products. So if you choose a product and advance the screen, you could preview that amortization schedule as well as exporting it. It'll export in a CSV file that can be used as an Excel file. So you have your information here. If you had MI, we would also be providing that MI figures as well, especially on those FHA loans where the MI decreases. We'll show you that decrease through the amortization schedule. So moving back, let's go ahead and put it back on total cost analysis. And I want to point out the bottom here. You'll notice that my arms are not marked. My 7-1 arms, leaving them empty, that excludes them from the presentation. So as I talk to the borrower, you can select it, advance the screen, the presentation would update with that product. We'll look at that a little bit more when we work on Edge Live, and we'll show you how you can add products and remove products. Big note here, guys, this is your payment notes area. Please put something like estimated taxes and insurance are included in your payment. It is a compliance piece, so go ahead and place that information in there. And then you're done with the presentation. So at this point, you could just hover your mouse over presentation and choose preview. With that, you can see how it was carried to the end of the last screen here. And with that, we have quite a bit of information. So you can see how you could print or save a PDF directly from this last screen. I suggest that you do not do that. Always do it from an email link. For the print quality, it'll be better because it's formatted within the presentation. Make sure you have it notify me when the report's reviewed. That controls your email alerts. And always remember to put your quote date. So now let's take a look at that preview of the presentation and see what we have here. So you can see the current mortgage has no graph. That is because it's the highest cost loan. So you have your payment and you can see those differences. So let me also, I'm opening up the chat area, and if you notice, if I click on the lower right hand corner, the share button, I'm going to go ahead and copy that link and place it in the chat area. So if you want to follow along and click on that link and see how the borrower follows along with me, go ahead and click on that link and get that experience. Want to point out, if you're using the desktop, this is a quick way of emailing that link to your borrower. It would just go ahead and open up an email for you from your email. Let me bring it over. Whoops. And it would automatically have the Mortgage Coach presentation and link dropped into your email. You then could go ahead and update the email and put in your information of the borrower. So you got that email, quick way of having that and sending it to your borrower. So now let's dive into the presentation a little bit more. So we have our payment and we have our monthly savings. So if they have the fixed loan where they refinance both first and second, they'll save $241 a month. If I press the clear on the bottom to clear out my highlights, let's then talk about the second product, which is keeping and resubordinating that second lien. By doing that, they're saving a little bit more money a month. But you need to remember that payment for the second lien will adjust. It will adjust in about 7 more years, and it will become full P&I. So with that, this savings will decrease. So now clicking the More Info button, you can see also with the second lien how we provide the details for that second lien right below the first. It's a quick way of seeing that broken down for the borrower, as well as in the More Info in the summary, you have the P&Is just easily available for them as well here for the first and the second lien. So now let's go look at the short-term area. Let's open up that More Info button. Right now, the conventional fix is saving about $12,500, and the keeping the second lien, you'll notice that they're saving a little bit extra each month, But now over 60 months, they're actually not recouping the cost as much. It's a little less, about $1,000 less than the conventional fix. So the goal area is very important with your loan products in comparison. So it's just not the monthly payment savings, but the short-term and long-term effects. So with that, let's see what that short-term savings, what these numbers comprise of. So if you click on that More Info button, first let's go ahead and clear out my highlights so we could follow along. I press the Clear All button, then the More Info. What our short-term savings provides is a savings of the unrecoverable costs. So with that, we take the interest and mortgage insurance that was paid over the 60-month period. The interest will include the second lien's interest, and it will be displayed here. We then take the closing costs or points, the cost of that, and we add it to how much interest and MI they paid, and that's the total cost of the loan, the money the borrower is not receiving back. So you can see just in that 5 years how much money that if they kept on the same path, they'd be saving over $10,000. And it's basically due to that interest adjustment on that first lien. So with that, let's go ahead and close out of the short-term area. If you want a little more explanation on that, let me know and we could go back in. Long-term area, you can see if they keep on the path with their current mortgage, $177,000, but when they refinance, they have $138,000 of the interest in MI paid, or $140,000 for the second lien. So with that, it's easy to be able to show the graphs and provide that information to the borrower. A testimonial that I read this week, a loan officer reached out to their past clients preparing a presentation like this. The borrower's husband had cancer and just remission. Everything was going good. They just wanted a stable payment, and they didn't really want to refinance. They're doing well with what he had provided before. But with the presentation, he was able to show them how to refinance out of that HELOC, save money, and actually have a more stable payment than what they had, especially since that HELOC will start adjusting. So a lot of times your borrowers will think staying in their loan is the way to go, but it's easy. You could show them different scenarios side by side and show how easy it is to refinance and how much money they would actually be saving over the short term and the long term. So what I want to do now is let's go ahead and start working with Edge Live on how to present this to your borrower. So what I'm going to do is click on the share, get that link again, and open up a new tab. So I paste the link in my new tab, and this is how a borrower, if they click the link from your email, it would go ahead and open up. If they're on the desktop, this is what they see. If they're on the mobile, they'll see the presentation as well. So you'll notice, let's go ahead and put these side by side so you can see the difference between the loan officer's copy and your copy. So with that, let's go ahead and switch these around a little bit. Okay, there we go. So we have the two presentations side by side, and you can see on the left-hand side, there's a Clear All button in the very center. That identifies this as your copy. This is the loan officer's copy. You'll see the borrower does not have a Clear All button because you don't want them editing. You don't want them clearing out highlights. So when you're highlighting, say if I'm highlighting the loan amount, you can see how when I left click on the cell, it highlights, and it highlights on the borrower's copy as well. I can press Clear All, and you can see how it clears out the highlights, and it clears out the highlights for the borrower. So this is how you can really talk to the borrower and really describe how the products work. So you can show them in the More Info button. You see how it popped up for the borrower on the right-hand side. And you could talk about keeping that second lien and resubordinating it. You could jump into that short-term area and really define, whoops, let's clear out the highlights. You could really define how refinancing that loan, how they will save money. You could see those numbers side by side and with the graphs. So you can see with that, you can guide the borrower through the conversation, be able to help educate them between their loan products, but not only can you just guide them, highlight, pull out the more info buttons, dive into it a little bit more. You can make changes with them as you're talking with the borrower. You can find out their goals and modify their goals. You can go ahead and talk to them about reinvestment strategy, or even bring out an additional product like your ARM product. So let's go ahead and take a look at how you can update the presentation using Edge Live, just as you're working with a borrower. So with that, I want to remind you, the link that the borrower have is dynamic and will update as you're making changes. So let's just jump back to the Mortgage Coach. What I want to do is add the ARM products just to show you how you can add products to your presentation when talking to the borrower. So if I selected a report, I have my ARM products in the wings. I want the borrower to see them now. We're going to discuss ARM products because they plan to move before 7 years. And I know that ARM product, that lower rate, would be perfect. So let's go ahead and show them a best and a worst case for an ARM. So remember, when you market, anytime you make a change, you have to advance the screen left or right, and that is your save. And with that, the presentation for both you and the borrower will update and have those 4 products. So you can see now how we have that 7-1 ARM, worst and best, and our copy will update just shortly. Let's keep going. I get impatient, so let's go ahead, just go to preview and click on the link, and then go ahead and take a look. And you can see it's probably already updated anyhow. So there you are, you have your 7-1 product. So now you could go in and start discussing a 7-1 and their savings. So let's take a look at it bigger. So look with that interest rate at 3 1/4. You can see how much savings that they will have in the short-term area. They're now saving $22,000. And if you go into the more info, you can see where that is all being recouped. It's that interest that they're paying. So you can see it's almost over $10,000 less than the one that they're resubordinating the second, and even more so with the conventional. So you can see the great savings. You can really easily see it in the graphical format and help educate the borrowers on ARM products. You also have, I'm showing best and worst case. And the difference between best and worst, we have the payment stream right below each product. Best case takes the interest rate to the fully indexed amount. That is what your APR is calculated based on. But you don't know how rates are going to be adjusting in the future, and you want to prepare the borrower for the worst case scenario. And if you look at the payment stream here, what it will do is take the adjustments that you've put for the ARM loan and make the adjustments to the full ceiling. So in this particular case, I had a 5% adjustment at the first change. So you can see that it stayed fixed for the 7 years, then made the full adjustment to the 8.25. This is just be able to show the borrower each angle, the best case, the worst case, and truly educating them on their ARM products. Now with that, you have your 7-1 and your ARM, and you have all these savings. That's another thing. What you can work with is the reinvestment strategy. So with that, you'd want to make all your payments equal. And you do that when you go into the reinvestment strategy. So if we go back to Mortgage Coach and we go to the analysis screen, this is where you could go ahead and modify your adjustments. But before we dive into here, let's just go ahead and change our adjustments here to show short term. Say they plan to move in 3 years and they want to move by 7 years. So if I advance the screen, let's take a look at that product. You'll see that the savings of the 60 month, it will go ahead and modify and show the shorter term, and same with the interest rate. So then you can provide them a little bit more understanding in the short term. You know, the ARM product, that lower rate, $12,655. And you could see over the 5-year period how much less interest that they will be paying. So it's quite a bit that you would be able to provide the borrower based on their goals. So you have the 36 months and the 60 months. Also, oops, we actually wanted that as 84 months, didn't we? So let's go ahead and say that they were moving at 84 months. And then there's another, even if it's an 84 months in that long-term area, you still haven't had that interest rate change been affected yet. Those ARM products, because it hasn't jumped over that 7th year, you're reflecting loans with the fixed interest rate. Let's go ahead and look at it here. Did I not advance my screen? No, I did. Why isn't it changing? Oh, it is 36. You have the 36 and the 60 months. It's not changing to 84. We did that twice, didn't we? I'll have to check into it. I know I had a spinner, so something's going on here. So either way, you can also see it here. You could go ahead for that. I know, because I'm using months, not years, guys. Okay, let's go ahead and put 7 years here. So the system will catch it there. So if you don't see a change, that's the reason why I had 60 years and not 7 years. So with that, it will go ahead and update, and then you'll be able to show them the goals between 3 years and 7 years. So it would be a nice way to be able to provide that projection to them and how much less interest that they paid having that ARM product. But you also want to jump out over that 7-year period. So if they do stay in that house for a longer period of time, they will know the effects of that interest rate. So what I'm going to do now is put 84 months here, and let's jump this out to 10 years. And let's take a look at the presentation and how those numbers change. Because now if you start pushing your goals past that interest rate mark, you could see that the savings will start changing and start lowering because that interest rate is higher. So we have it at the 84th month, and you can see here now on the worst case scenario, that's actually a higher interest in MI being paid than any of the other two products. So, and that's the reason why you want to really look at the goals on the ARM product, jump out the ARM product past the interest rate period, and see if that is a right loan for a borrower if they plan on staying in their house for quite some time. So let's go back to the analysis screen and show how you can do apples to apples with the reinvestment. So let's go ahead and click on the reinvestment strategy. And what we're going to do is place the savings toward principal. So I'm putting in $240.98 toward principal for my fixed product. I'm saving $278.48, and I'm applying it to the fix. If you want, you can apply it to the second lien and get that paid off sooner. So let's do that and see how that works. See if they apply that monthly savings toward the HELOC. They have a freedom point of 7.33 years, and this was a 25-year term loan. So you can show them how taking that savings. Now for the ARM, Let's go ahead and put in that information here. And then you'll notice that below the monthly savings, you have adjust with ARM. If you mark that, and what we'll do is we'll take a look at that in a moment, it will then go ahead and adjust the monthly amount up or down based on that rate adjustment. So let's take a look at our presentation now that we're making it apples to apples, and let's take a look at the savings after we reinvest. You'll notice we just received a reduction payment line, came up on the screen, and it has the amounts that we're applying toward principal listed here. You'll now notice that by doing so, they have new freedom points. So a lot of concern with borrowers is they don't want to refinance because they don't want to put the loan back out to 30 years. Show them, make the same payment you always have. You'll pay off that second lien sooner. This one has a freedom point, less than 23 years. And the ARMs, less than 23 and less than 22. So it's a lot of information that you'd be able to provide the borrower by showing that apples to apples comparison. And that's a quick way of really understanding on the refinance because of that apples to apples. To find the information more so on the reduction, click on that More Info button. And we also have a tab for that reinvestment strategy. It looks just like the screen we had. Just come in here, highlight the field so the borrower will be able to see it easily. And you'll be able to highlight this, and when they open the presentation, this is what they'll see. So with that, we're going to wrap up today's call. If you have any questions, I'll stay on the line for a little bit answering them. And got one in right now. Okay. And then I'm just going to wrap up, do some house cleaning after this, show you a couple items. So Candy wants to include escrow, taxes, and insurance in the quote. It is grayed out on your closing cost screen. How can they ensure they are included? Great question, Candy. So when you go into your fees, let's just go into our product. Let's go into the conventional fixed. You'll see that the prepaid escrow fees are grayed out here. You'll also notice that if you go into your closing costs, they're grayed out in this area as well. These fields are connected with the monthly cost screen. So to show you, let's go ahead and cancel this. And you see how we put in the number of months of reserve? If you use these two fields, we'll then calculate the monthly amount and place it in the closing costs. So if you need to make an adjustment on the closing costs, it has to do either with the dollar amount or the number of months impounded. And to show you how these correlate with each other, you'll see how I have the data fields for 2 months and 4 months. Let's go back to our closing cost screen and let's remove the hazard and taxes. And when you remove those figures, it will also remove them from the monthly cost screen. So let's pull this down. I'm using the trash can to remove the fee, and I'm applying it to the loan. When I go to the monthly cost, you'll see now that my monthly 2 months reserves have been removed. You can see how both of those work together. So did that answer your perfect, glad. Okay. So yeah, so then if you wanted to go ahead and add them back in, you could do that. And just to let you know, if you use premium, it works the same way. You can remove it off the fee details or add it in through here. We also have a third field here for monthly costs. So you also have that, but we don't have the impounds for that, so you can't use that one. Okay, are there any other questions that you have? Want to point out, please put it in the question area. I can go anywhere if you want to talk a different topic. But for now, I want to point out that if you click on the help button, first off, everyone, make sure you go into your settings and confirm your branch address is in, your MLS number, make sure you have that identifier in front of the number, and upload your image and make sure your logo's in there. A lot of presentations coming through our support don't have that image, and you definitely want to have that bar be able to see you. So make sure your contact and your images are uploaded. And if you press that help button, it takes you to our support page. And with our support page, we have many video tutorials that you'll be able to access, as well as a search engine. So if you had maybe a question on escrows, you could go ahead and type escrows and see what kind of video tutorials will come through. So that, if you want to have questions on MI, same type of thing. We also want to point out our events calendar. We have many trainings that you can access, as well as our coaching call archive. This is where the Tuesday coaching calls are placed, as well as the Thursday training. So you'll be able to listen to any of our past calls, and they're just listed here. So with that, everyone, thank you so much for attending our Mortgage Coaches Training Thursday. I will be mute for the next few minutes, but if you do have a question, I will be here, and let me know how I can help you. Thank you, everyone. Enjoy your week. That's great, Candy. And for anyone who's new on the call, just want to point out that we do have trainings, and we do have an introductory training on Monday mornings. Every Monday at 9 a.m. Pacific time. It's just an intro to Edge, and it goes slowly through how to create a presentation. So, and understanding Mortgage Coach. So with that, if you wanted to sign up for that, enter the Mortgage Coach right here. You could go to our website, to our calendar, or within the Zendesk, and you'll be able to go ahead and grab that. Also have MCU courses the first 3 weeks of each month. A lot of individual trainings there as well. And if you have any kind of questions, just email us at support@mortgagecoach.com, and we'd be able to assist you with any presentations, or send us your link and we can review it as well. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful day.